story: The Silent Stalker. Jenna had always been a light sleeper, but since moving into her new apartment in downtown Chicago, she barely slept at all. The constant noise from the street below and the unfamiliar creaks of the old building kept her awake at night. But it was the unsettling feeling of being watched that truly robbed her of rest. One evening, after a long day at work, Jenna returned home to her dimly lit apartment. As she unlocked the door, she felt a chill run down her spine, as if someone had just brushed past her. She dismissed it as her imagination and stepped inside. The apartment was eerily quiet. Jenna went through her usual routine, dropping her keys on the kitchen counter, kicking off her shoes, and checking her phone. She noticed a few missed calls from her best friend, Lisa. She called back, and they chatted for a while, but Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. That night, as she lay in bed, Jenna heard a faint tapping sound. It seemed to come from the wall behind her bed. She tried to ignore it, thinking it was just the pipes or the neighbors. But the tapping continued, growing more insistent. She sat up and listened carefully. The sound seemed deliberate, almost like a message. Tap, tap, tap. A pause. Tap, tap. Another pause. Tap, 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 tap. It was rhythmic, intentional. Jenna's heart began to race. She reached for her phone and texted Lisa. "Jenna, do you think someone could be tapping on my wall?" Lisa, "Probably just the building settling. Try to get some sleep." Jenna tried to take Lisa's advice, but sleep wouldn't come. She tossed and turned, the tapping echoing in her mind. Finally, she decided to investigate. She grabbed a flashlight and cautiously approached the wall. The tapping stopped. She pressed her ear against the wall, holding her breath. Nothing. She sighed in relief and turned to go back to bed when she heard it again, this time louder and more urgent. Tap, 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 right behind her. She whipped around, shining the flashlight on the wall. Her breath caught in her throat. Faintly scratched into the paint were the words, "Help me." Jenna stumbled back, dropping the flashlight. Her hands trembled as she picked it up and shone it on the wall again. The words were still there, real and terrifying. She grabbed her phone and dialed 911, her voice shaking as she explained the situation. The dispatcher assured her that help was on the way. Jenna sat on the edge of her bed, heart pounding, eyes fixed on the wall. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, there was a knock at the door. Jenna rushed to open it, letting in 2 police officers. She showed them the message on the wall, her voice barely above a whisper. The officers examined it, their faces serious. "Ma'am, have you noticed any other strange occurrences?" one of them asked. Jenna nodded, recounting the noises, the feeling of being watched, and the constant unease. The officers exchanged glances and began inspecting the apartment. They checked every room, every closet, every possible hiding place. Then they moved to the walls, tapping and listening. One of the officers stopped at the wall with the message and knocked on it. The sound was hollow. "There's a space behind here," he said. "We'll need to open it up." They carefully removed a section of the wall, revealing a narrow, hidden passage. Jenna's heart raced as they shone their flashlights into the dark space. Inside, they found a small, makeshift room. It was cramped and dusty, with a few discarded items, a blanket, a water bottle, and a notebook. One of the officers opened the notebook, his expression growing grimmer with each page. "This looks like someone's been living here," he said, "and they've been watching you." Jenna's blood ran cold. The officers continued their search and soon found a small vent that connected the hidden room to Jenna's bedroom wall. The tapping, the feeling of being watched. It all made sense now. Someone had been there, just inches away, all along. The police conducted a thorough investigation, but the intruder was never found. Jenna moved out immediately, unable to stay another night in the apartment. She never forgot the terror of those nights, the helpless feeling of being watched, and the chilling discovery of the hidden room. To this day, she still checks the walls of every place she lives, haunted by the memory of the silent stalker who had invaded her life, leaving behind only fear and the unanswered question of why.